Let's talk some movies. I got Rotten Tomatoes up in front of me and Jenny Horne to my left because we're going to talk some Disney for our developing story here. All right, start with the numbers. Wish was like the family movie this weekend, Disney's main offering. And then, of course, there's Ridley Scott's Napoleon, little Hunger Games in the mix, too.
And it was an unspectacular weekend for these Disney box office films. And I will say it's difficult to compare like what we're seeing with the box office debuts this year versus like prior years. If you look at some of the figures, it's pretty staggering.
Because of COVID?
I just think there's like a whole stigma now around movie theaters where it's just why wait to go see, or you can wait to go see something and in the comfort of your own home. There's not that same like movie theater power, at least as far as like what consumers are saying. However, what we also do know is that we did see some degree of excitement around particularly what Disney had to offer. Their musical comedy Wish not generating nearly as much magic as they had thought. The Hunger Games was also one that was released over the weekend that was sort of, I'd say, one of the main events, as they did offer some of the most compelling box office figures, as earning around 29 million in U.S. box office sales over the 3-day period. They've launched about 42 million since the beginning of their debut back Wednesday, but also behind the Hunger Games and the Napoleon, which are distributed by Sony, not of course Disney, those took in around 20.4 million over the 3-day weekend. Now another thing is Wish took over in about 19.5 million over the 3-day weekend. This has been somewhat of a disappointment. If you look at actually though Disney's films over the course of this year, they also have been somewhat disappointing. This isn't their first animated film that was somewhat just lackluster. And we also did see some lift from the Eras tour, Taylor Swift's, of course, concert series, just still debuting. And she did also announce today that will be coming to your home, where you can then purchase that, the extended version. That's also something that has nothing to do with Disney. That's just something.
My neighbor's going to get it. I'm going to hear it through the wall.
You are. Because
every time they have a party, there's always Taylor Swift saying, I have to move.
She just released this. This is a brand new announcement. So it'll be
terrible.
Mid-December is when that's coming out, December 13th, I believe. But
I can already hear it through the walls of the movie theater, by the way, where they're doing those live concerts.
So you're not a fan?
I could literally hear Taylor Swift during Killers of the Flower Moon because it was like the next theater down. All right, so here's what's interesting to me the most, though, is that if you go to Rotten Tomatoes for Wish, it's like the opposite of what the recent critic audience score ratios have been.
Sometimes they're opposite. I think that's so interesting.
And most recently, of course, it's been the opposite, where if the critics like a Disney movie, the audience has hated it. This one, critics have 50% tomato, but the audience has 81% for Wish. So maybe Disney actually did something right here.
Okay, like Elemental came out. I believe that's a recent release. It's so good. It's a Disney movie. It's an animated film. I watched it because I'm a new Disney Plus subscriber. It is so good, but it got terrible ratings and it did terribly at the box office. I mean, relatively speaking, of course. But Disney is, of course, their bread and butter tends to be some of these like Marvel films and Avatar, which was earlier this year, which I'll never stop talking about Avatar. I just think that right now you need to make films that are like, unfortunately, the movie theater industry has changed, right? Where they're only focused on a lot of these films, like the Marvel films that generate a ton of money. Those also get pretty poor critic scores, but then the movie like goer scores are off the charts.
The last one bombed too. The Marvels one.
Because isn't it just like the Marvels? There's not even like an add-on at that point.
That's my stand-up bit. You know they've run out of ideas when they just call it just Marvels.
I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, come on, like give it up. But those do generate a ton of money. So that's just what Disney focuses on now, these major box office events.
All right, so right now Napoleon is conquering at the moment.
Napoleon, and I'm going to go see. I'm a loyal movie theater goer. I'm going to go see that.
All right, thought you were going to say you're a loyal Napoleon follower. All right, that's
that too.
For the update, Jenny Horne, the developing story in the movie biz.